My cat Freddie loves to be brushed and cuddled. But stirring up his cat allergens meant sneezing and itchy eyes. Then I found Purina One Live Clear. It's cat food that reduced the major allergen and my suffering in as little as 21 days. Now, we feel closer than ever. If you have issues with cat allergens, you really need to try Purina One Live Clear.
Try new Purina One Live Clear today. Purina One, a difference from day one.
This episode is brought to you by Chevrolet. When you have 4 new tires, every drive feels fresh. Right now, buy 3 select tires and get 1 for just $1 during the Chevrolet Certified Service Fresh Start Tire event. Visit Chevrolet.com/service offers or see dealer for full details. At participating U.S. GM dealers only, highest or equal value tire will be $1. Offer ends 5/31/2025. Not available with other offers.
Jane Menton, an absolute brilliant advocate, is organizing all across the state to fight against this disaster in the making. Jane, welcome back to Let the Record Show. It's all yours.
Thank you so much. That was a really, really great introduction. You really covered all of the issues here. So a major thing that's happened since the Trump administration came into office is, let me set the stage a little bit. In 2019, New York State passed the CLCPA, the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. And that is meant to oversee the transition of New York State's electric grid to renewable energy sources. Right now, most of our energy, especially the energy for New York City, comes from fossil fuels. I'm talking 85 to 90% of our energy comes from fossil fuel sources. And the CLCPA mandated that we will get 70% of our energy from renewable sources by 2030. This was passed in 2019, and the Biden administration during 2020 to 2024 and the Inflation Reduction Act was putting a lot of federal subsidies and resources towards renewable energy projects. Now, enter the Trump administration. All of those subsidies are going away. This is particularly disastrous for New York, undergoing this grid transition right now, because in 2019, when they said they had a plan, they were going to be able to build a renewable grid. A major part of that plan was being able to build offshore wind energy. That's when they announced their 2023 scoping plan. Here is the roadmap for how we're going to get from where we are today to 70% renewable energy. That much of it was based on wind power, offshore wind power. Setting aside that, wind is an intermittent energy source, so unlikely that would even be effective or work the way they said it would. Now, in this moment now, Trump has said no more federal subsidies for renewable energy projects. I'm pulling all of that funding. And furthermore, offshore wind is federally licensed, and I am revoking the permits that have been issued for offshore wind projects. And New York is now in they have no alternative path for how they were going to get to 70% renewable sources. And at this moment today, they have no plan at all for getting from where we are right now to that goal. Meanwhile, as you alluded to, Local Law 97 says we're going to mandate that all buildings in New York City convert to electric heat, electric hot water, electric stoves, not gas stoves, electric stoves, and that is going to dramatically increase electricity demand for the city. Radically. And at this moment in time, not only the LCPA has no plan for replacing the existing grid with a renewable grid, but how on earth would they scale that grid in a way that would be able to match exponentially rising demand for electricity? This will leave New Yorkers, as you said so eloquently in the introduction, it will leave New Yorkers in a situation without reliable energy, a situation where when demand peaks, which will be on the hottest and the coldest days of the year, when it is most necessary that they have reliable, guaranteed electricity, it will not be available. there's just a cascading set of issues here. New York City residents, we are entirely dependent on functional infrastructure. Most people are dependent on public transportation. We're dependent on high-rise buildings. A situation in which we do not have reliable electricity rapidly becomes just a complete crisis. So that's what I'm trying to avoid. I'd love to talk more about this if you guys have questions for me or anything else you'd like to discuss around this area.
Jesse.
James, great to have you back, and thank you for taking up this fight. I know you've touched upon it a little bit, but first of all, I think part of the problem here is the Democrats and the progressives think that intermittent energy sources and these renewables can be our load-based energy platforms, which cannot be. That's why I think President Trump has been pushing it a lot in terms of negotiations for the Constitution pipeline. But I think that you mentioned it, and you talked about air conditioning, you talked about heat in the winter and stuff, but maybe bring it down to like where our listeners could understand in their real life, in real day, real time, day-to-day activities. What does this mean for them with these, failed progressive policies coming into fruition without alternatives, without a load-based alternative like fossil fuels and such?
It is truly a crisis. So I was here when Hurricane Sandy caused a blackout situation in downtown Manhattan, and it was multiple days. At that time, I was living with my parents, and they had gas, heat, gas, hot water. So we had no electricity, but we were still warm. It was November. We still had water. If we had converted our building to an entirely single source electric infrastructure, and the power had gone out, we would have had nothing. We would not have been able to cook anything. We could cook because we had gas. We would not have had heat. We wouldn't have had water. Most high-rise buildings in New York are dependent on electric water pumps. We're putting people in an incredibly precarious situation. If you live in a high-rise building with an elevator, with electric stoves, with electric heat, any blackout, crisis. Imagine your elderly neighbor who has a walker. How are you evacuating that person from the 16th floor? How are we going to, and it would be millions of people across the whole city if we had blackouts like this.
What about hospitals? What about hospitals?
What about grocery stores? Are we just going to have food rotting in grocery stores? It's truly like we are, as a city, I don't know of another place that is as entirely reliant on functional infrastructure as New York City. The way that we live, the dense population, the high-rise buildings, our public transit, our grocery stores, everything it has to function properly. And this would be a breakdown of every single one of those systems.
ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track. And ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
Ladies, you'll end up shopping for your guy's deodorant, right? So try Degree's Original Cool Rush. You see, last year, Degree changed the formula, and men were mad. One guy even started a petition. So Degree admitted they messed up and brought the Original Cool Rush scent back. It's clean, crisp, and actually smells like someone you want to cuddle. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So toss one in your cart and find out why it's the best-selling men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory.
Your snacking routine can get a little dull. Time for an Oikos remix. Like a crunchy storm of sea salt praline pretzels, dark chocolate, and butter toffee, showering down into a smooth, creamy yogurt. Enjoy 3 Oikos remix varieties with epic mix-ins and 11 grams of complete protein per 4.5-ounce serving. See remixyogurt.com.
Mic check. 1, 2. Are we recording? Hi, I'm Michelle Bernstein, an award-winning chef, restaurateur, and mom. I have a lot on my plate, including my psoriatic arthritis symptoms. That's why I was prescribed Cosentyx. It helps me move better.
Cosentyx secukinumab is prescribed for people 2 years of age and older with active psoriatic arthritis. Don't use if you're allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting, get checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur, like tuberculosis or other serious bacterial, fungal, or viral infections. Some were fatal. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms like fevers, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, had a vaccine or plan to, or if inflammatory bowel disease symptoms develop or worsen. Serious allergic reactions and severe eczema-like skin reactions may occur. Learn more at 1-844-COSENTYX or Cosentyx.com.
Ask your rheumatologist about Cosentyx.
And yet, Jane, the problem is when you try to talk to the members of the city council and you try to talk to members of the state legislature, they have almost this religious zealotry about climate change.
Well, that's what it is. These are articles of faith. And faith doesn't require necessarily reality. You just believe it. It is these are religious zealots.
I mean, is it going to take the destruction and the loss of life of thousands or maybe tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of people for them to wake up to see that their dreams of this wonderful universe of fossil fuel energy is unrealizable and is send us back to a dark age? Is that what it's going to take to bring the political leadership, the left-wing zealots, the climate advocates to their senses about what they're doing to us?
Even then, they might not care.
Jesse, what do you think?
I really, really hope not.
Jesse, from a political point of view, what is there any possibility to get these people to start thinking correctly and rationally?
It's unfortunate, but it's going to take a crisis that hits these politicians at home in their bases that's going to cause them to have a change. Now, what I've and understanding, Jane, I want to thank you because I think that you and hundreds and thousands of others are working on a grassroots campaign to actually educate the electorate and educate the residents of New York City and abroad about the terrors that are coming down with these policies, especially with 197.
Yes. So my hope is that we can persuade politicians in addition to this energy crisis that is coming, we have an affordability crisis that is coming first, I would say. That affordability crisis is coming in the form of these renovations and retrofits that would need to take place in order for people to turn their infrastructure into electric infrastructure. But it's also coming in radically increasing energy prices as to build renewable energy, that cost is coming home. That is not something that they thought they would have federal funding maybe to help them do it. But we're talking about building an entire secondary grid here. And to do that, there's a huge building investment that needs to occur. And Con Ed is already requesting, in order to do that work, they're requesting 13% increases this year. It's going to be 13% next year. In a couple of years, we're going to see 40 to 50% over what we're paying today in rising energy costs. And that is where I think politicians are going to be hearing all the time from their constituents that this is not affordable. It's going to be the communities in the outer boroughs. It's going to be the communities in Queens and the Bronx, which are the communities that I'm really working with to educate on this issue right now, that this is going to be energy poverty for those people. They're going to be the ones who can't use the electricity when they need it because it's just too expensive.
Well, what that means in a real sense is that people, once again, in the city and the state of New York and the suburbs will be voting with their feet. If it's unaffordable and you can't afford to live here, you leave. And that's the problem. We've lost 400,000 important taxpayers from the state of New York in the last number of years. People are fleeing out of New York. It's another incentive to leave. So you're going to lose your tax base. When it becomes unaffordable, you're going to have commercial buildings that can't be rented. You're going to have buildings that are abandoned by their landlords. You're going to have co-ops and condos where people who can't afford to make a go of it, the cost will be astronomical. This is totally unworkable in terms of the feasibility of having an infrastructure in place, sources of energy in place, and affordability. This is a trifecta of a disaster. And thanks to your leadership, Jane, and people who are working with your coalition, this New Yorkers for Affordable Energy, maybe we can get some leadership out of the people at the city council and whoever the new mayor is and the state legislators and the governor to turn this around. Now, Jane, if people want to support you either by time, money, or effort, or communication, how do they get to you, Jane?
Right now, the best way to get to me is by my email, which is just janementon@outlook.com. Honestly, you can email me directly. I'm in the process of setting up a website, but it's, these things, all good things take time, as they say.
All right. And do you have a place where they can make contributions financially? Have you set that up yet?
I have a GoFundMe, but it would be we could work something out if they emailed me.
Okay, fine. So the answer is, please repeat your address so people can reach out to you, because this is a statewide issue and it has to be dealt with in a statewide. And I know Chairman Garcia is one of the leaders of the Republican Party of New York. Would love to work with you. Isn't that right, Jesse?
Absolutely.
Oh, well, thank you. Okay, so my email is Jane, Jane. My last name is Menton, Menton, @outlook.com.